Hagerty is the world's largest provider of specialty insurance for enthusiast vehicles and supports keeping car culture alive through youth programs, the Historic Vehicle Association, the RPM Foundation, and more. Hagerty is home to key programs such as the Hagerty Drivers Club, Hagerty Drive Share, Hagerty Valuation Tools, the Hagerty Drivers Club magazine, and much, much more. For more information, visit their website at hagerty.com. PCA Sim Racing is proud to have Hagerty Motorsports as its 2021 title sponsor.
On Wednesday, the challenge and sport classes faced off here at Silverstone. It may have given us some insight as to how our club and pro races will go today, but did the drivers take notes? We'll find out pretty soon as we get ready to watch round 1 of Series 7 in the PCA Sim Racing Series, presented by Hagerty Motorsports. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth tonight is DJ Clark. Taylor Burris and Rachel Whiteford are reporting from pit lane, and up in the producer's booth we have Ryan Bauer and Gary Sexton, who are using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. As always, the PCA Sim Racing Series is brought to you by Hagerty. Since 1984, Hagerty has been the worldwide leader in collector car insurance. Everything they do is geared towards enabling and enhancing the experience of automotive enthusiasts and making sure that the vehicles we all love and the lifestyles that revolve around them don't just survive, but thrive well into the future. Services include the Hagerty Drivers Club, Drive Share by Hagerty, the shop, and much, much more to fuel car culture. Hagerty, let's drive together. Now, once again, in case you didn't tune in, Wednesday night, we're here at the older version of Silverstone. And DJ, why don't you introduce our viewers to how these GT3 cars will handle here?
Well, Joe, as we saw previously, this track is rife with overtaking opportunities, and it's just as rife with opportunities to get things wrong around here. Obviously, the biggest place of contention that you've got to absolutely nail is the Maggots and Beckett's complex, especially considering it leads onto Hanger Straight, one of the longer straightaways around here. And as we saw on Wednesday, a good overtaking opportunity does exist going down into Stowe. But perhaps one of the most dynamic and exciting places we saw anything happens is the world-famous Priory, Brooklands, and Luffield complex. All going down in through there. You've got to make sure you get absolutely every braking zone right, as there is ample room for drivers to attack both on the inside and the outside of those corners, and the way they double back on each other. It is sure to provide a very, very fascinating area to see. The other thing that we're going to have to watch out for, though, is that first turn. Remember, this is the old layout, so the start-finish line is right before Cops, and that is a very, very tricky corner to get things started with.
Watching on board with Road Heaver right now, who has the provisional pole, and he's certainly happy about something there as he's banging on the wheel. Ooh, he's actually frustrated as he actually got loose there, unfortunately, just shaking the hands. And the 982 continues on his way down into Stowe Corner. Now, let's go to Rachel down in the pits. Rachel, we got to see 2 races the other night and got to at least get a little bit of info on how those went down. But is there anything that happened that feels like changes your opinion of what you expect today?
I think something that drivers from these 2 classes today will have to take to the track with them are, firstly, the orange zone, that first lap. They need to be cautious because there are a lot of potential issues for contact. Contact does mean penalties and drive-throughs, so you've got to make sure you don't hobble yourself on lap 1. This track is not as wide as it seems, and they need to be aware of that. That is a huge focus, especially in tight, packed traffic. Also, we saw a lot of self-spins, so cars getting loose is going to be a big focus for these drivers. And also, we saw some variety in pit stop strategy, but I think it's still going to be a rough, even split.
Yeah, it's based on what we saw. It seemed like a lot of people kind of hovered around the same pit strategy, which takes us over to Taylor Burris. As always, you've been following these guys for so long, you have a better sense of who does what. Who do you think is most likely to try and roll the dice and take a gamble with a different pit strategy tonight?
Well, that's one of the interesting things about this club class here tonight, Joe, is that there is a mix of drivers who have improved, that worked their way up, as well as drivers who are new to the series that have a certain rating to be a part of this club class. One driver in particular that we're looking at is our provisional pole sitter, Nikki Chan, who's been with the series for quite some time and having a great run start of the season, actually, a matter of fact. The Toronto driver was based in the sim racing for just 1 year and now is looking to be the pole sitter and a strong competitor. We normally see Nikki middle of the pack, but for this start of the season, it looks like a lot of training and a lot of practice has helped Nikki be up at the top. So I would keep an eye on this driver here tonight.
I do see that 810 just working his way around, sitting in 28th. So he's already taken his 2 qualifying laps. He's effectively just warming up from here on out. DJ, so far, it looks like most people have put a lap down, but J.R. Gregory has not. In fact, I think, is he on his out lap or is he on a fast lap here?
Looks like he is on lap 1 as he heads out there, heading down towards the Abbey complex. Now, this is one of the areas that was obviously remodeled when the track was redone several years ago, coming down onto Bridge. Let's stay on board with him here because this is that Priory Brooklands Luffield section that I talked about. Very tricky braking zone getting down here into Priory. That left-hander, you want to let the car run a little bit wide, and then down into Luffield, a corner, or Brooklands rather, a corner that seems to never end, and then the real corner that never seems to end here, Luffield. It just goes on and on and on. Drivers have got to be very careful not to get on the power too early, risk spinning the tires or maybe getting a little bit of oversteer in that moment. Let's see what Gregory's got here as he's going to cross over the line.
47.3 for his first lap. That'll get him into 26th position. I see Peter Sigourney also out there on his out lap. We're riding on board with him now. So the 014 still has some time before he puts one down. Actually, is he going to be able to put one down? Because this is not a series where you can finish the hot lap, and we've only got a minute 40-some left.
I don't think he's going to be able to get one down, although I do have to say I love that livery, Flying Lizards, one of my favorite teams back in the day when I was a kid, just because of the name. But yeah, Sigourney looking a little bit twitchy there coming out of Luffield.
I think Mike Knighton is going to be able to get a lap in here in these dying stages in the 71. His first one got deleted. He must have had an off track, as this is looking quite patriotic. Kind of funny that he's brought it here to Silverstone painted like that. And let's see if this one will count. It will. A 49.2, but he's second to last of those who have set a time. So he's got a lot of work ahead of himself.
Yeah, he certainly does. Here comes Gregory now as there's about a minute left to go here. This will be lap 2 for him, so I think he'll just barely eke one in. Let's watch him as he goes through this complex again. A little bit of a ride run there coming out of Priory, now into the left-hander of Brooklands. Lot of wheel into that car. Going to take that entry there through Luffield. Again, lots of wheel, little bit of counter steer mid-corner, snapping it back. Should be relatively okay. Let's see if he can beat that 47.3.
This is a guy who's run at the ring in real life, so as he does take about 0.3 off, that will help him, but only up to 19th. So J.R. Gregory, I believe, is the last one able to set a time here in qualifying. We're going to be off to a 5-minute warm-up in the meantime, where drivers will continue to get to prep. I'm looking at the temperatures, and while they heated up in the second race last night, as the sport guys had it smack dab in the middle of the afternoon, Rachel, it looks like mercifully things have cooled down quite a bit, even though it's later in the afternoon here for the club race.
It does look that way. Temperatures seem to be a little bit more moderate from what we've seen, and as it stands, we're looking about 65 degrees in the air, track temperature about 70, and it's partly cloudy, which is really good for these guys because that cloud cover will help us keep the track cool, a bit more grip. And I think that could also be, we've got a pretty strong wind relative, about 8 miles an hour from the southeast, really low humidity. So these are actually ideal track conditions, especially for someone here.
Things get ramped up so much when we go up to club and then obviously to the pro drivers finally after this. So definitely stick around because there's more racing to come after this 45-minute event, which will kick off pretty soon. And Taylor, as we watch these guys now get back out there for practice, who have you got your eye on as in terms of being most likely to snag the win today?
Well, you have to go with some of our former series champions as well as major competitors. Jensen Benet is one driver who has had a strong running in PCA competition. Jared Roadheaver is another one who has picked up multiple wins in the PCA competition as well. He's going to be starting on that outside front row. But keep this in mind as well. Oregon Gerlat is another competitor. He runs competitively inside the top 10, top 5, but has snagged a couple of podium positions throughout his career. Could this be the year that he gets that breakthrough that he needs in order to take the club championship? We're going to find out tonight. I'm going to keep an eye on Oregon, especially a lot tonight.
Yeah, I will as well, but I'm looking at that 981 who grabbed the pole, Nikki Chan. Don't forget, Nikki won at Motorsport, DJ. So, and that was last series, Series 6, that the 71 was able to make that happen. So this is looking quite good that he could potentially, the 981 rather, that he could potentially get win number 2.
Very well could. And, you know, this is a track that has some old school stylistic things to it, like a little bit of Motorsport, a lot of fast and flowing corners around here. So I could certainly see how Chan will fall into that and really like that way. But the one thing he's going to have to worry about here, as opposed to Motorsport, is Motorsport's pretty easy to defend on rather. It's pretty easy to be able to hold a car behind you. Here, it's not nearly as easy. You've got to be really good all the way around.
And Rachel, I know you've got something on your mind down there in pit lane. Who are you looking at?
Well, it was actually when you mentioned Nikki Chan, because the win at Motorsport was one of a phenomenal night in PCA history that we can't actually forget. That was the night when the winner of the first race started on pole. The winner of the second race started in second. The winner of the third race, Nikki Chan, started third. And the winner of the fourth race, which was Liam Rosicki, started in fourth. So it was one of those magically aligned nights.
Well, now you have me trying to remember where our winners from last night started. See if we were getting something going on again, as we see Chris Duffy and Patrick Gilles as well there in the 111. I believe we've got just about a minute 30 left here in this warm-up. Quite beautiful conditions out there on the track. Is just a little bit of cloud cover to hopefully cool the track down just a bit here and there, but at least give the fans some beautiful scenes out on the circuit. DJ, I'm excited for this one because we saw some fantastic racing the previous night for the quote-unquote amateurs of the series. So getting the pros out here with the club and pro licenses really has me excited.
You and me both, Joe. It's going to be a fantastic race all the way around, and these GT cars just absolutely suited perfectly to running around Silverstone. It's going to be good battles. It's going to be good fun. This old school layout is one of my favorites to run in the entirety of iRacing. So I think we are going to be in store for a real barn burner here tonight.
Definitely stick around with us here on Podium Esports. And before we get to the racing, we want to mention that this race is brought to you by Michelin, because Michelin is the presenting partner for the club class in 2021, as well as the official tire of IMSA. They also manufacture and sell tires for every type of vehicle, including airplanes, automobiles, bicycles, earth movers, farm equipment, heavy-duty trucks, and motorcycles. Michelin also offers a full range of innovative services and solutions that help make mobility safer, more efficient, and more environmentally friendly. Find more about Michelin at michelinman.com. As the last of our clock ticks down here for the PCA Club Event 1 at Silverstone. And The grid is now set, so it is Nicky Chan on the pole. Jared Roadheaver will start to his outside. Glenn Dennis will be in P3 as Ed Nelson starts from 4th. Orgun Garalt is in P5. Austin Bucket is 6th, as we've got Cliff Kayer on the inside of the next row. Travis Brody will start from 8th. Matt Diolosa in 9th is followed by Ryan Korzanowski in 10th.
Starting off in 11th is going to be James Hayosh, followed by Robert Lacroix. Brett Holmes will be lining up in 13th, followed by Gary Reese and Stephen Kemp rounding out your top 15. Jensen Bennett, one of those drivers to watch, will be in 16th, followed by Jeremy Mazziello. In 17th, John Martin. 18th, J.R. Gregory and Bruce Robinson round out your top 20.
Ambrosino will start in 21st as you see the last of our field scroll by. 43 starters here today. So a much bigger field than what we experienced in both of the previous rounds. So not only are they going to be faster, but there's going to be more cars on the track to deal with. Expect this to be a handful out there. Nicky Chan waiting for the Porsche pace car to peel off for round 1. As there goes the pace car. Nicky has control, waiting patiently for the green, and there's the green flag. The 981 is off, and it is a very good start. Also excellent for Dennis back there as the 20 starts to close, looks to cover off Roadheaver, and Roadheaver going to lose that second position into Cops. Behind them, the 2x2 through that fast right-hander is all good to go.
Yeah, but they're still side by side between Dennis and Roadheaver. Finally giving way. There is Jared Roadheaver to Glenn Dennis. That's going to be able to move that number 20 up into second, setting his eyes up ahead to Nicky Chan. Ooh, we've got it off. That's Jared Roadheaver off.
Oh, from the front row, off the course in the first couple corners. Didn't hit anything, I don't think, and is going to back it up and get it going. But that is a huge disadvantage at the very start of this race, and he has to wait for everybody to try and cycle through as we come back to our second place runner, the P20 of Glenn Dennis.
Yeah, Dennis did a really good job there to keep the pressure up to Roadheaver, and now you can see that starting to reap rewards, setting his eyes up ahead to Nicky Chan and try to close in on that gap. But he's also got to watch in his rearview mirror as Ed Nelson and that 16 machine trying to close in on the number 20.
Taylor was watching down from pit lane. Taylor, looks like we had problems before we even got to the green flag.
Yeah, a couple of cars just loped it around a little bit. We don't have a replay for that, but a couple of cars just with the cold tires, trying to get the cars warmed up, spun the tires a little bit, and around they went, but they were able to rejoin the track. No major damage to some of the cars. A couple of cars did come down pit road, though, to just double-check their cars, make sure that they were okay. I believe one of them might have been the 79 of Lyle Eddy, who is currently now back out on the race course.
As we see Travis Brody here, the onboard cam, we're watching him come through Luffield. He's around quite a few cars here early. In these early stages, Rachel, when you've got cars ahead and cars behind so close, how do you keep your focus? How do you keep from getting so nervous?
It's just about running your race, running your lines, being predictable, because everyone else wants to do the same thing. Try and stay predictable, try and stay where you are. Look at the timings. Well, relative is a huge tool for these guys, but in general, it's know where they are in the mirror, follow a consistent line, and everybody else will try and do the same thing, and you'll generally hope it works out.
Now we check in on the 4th place runner, Bucket, who's dropped back from Ed Nelson there on the last step of the podium, so not going to have any opportunity down the hanger straight. Behind him, actually, we might have a pass between Kayer and Garalt, as they're going to go side by side. Here we look off the rear view cam, and no, it seems that Kayer is not brave enough to attempt it quite yet. He's still in with a shot, though.
Yeah, he's going to be looking to the outside there, going down into Vale, but not enough doing to really make it work. Gerlach going to be able to hold that off for the moment, riding out of the front here of Travis Brody. Now that battle starting to go. That's Kayer taking a very wide line out of the corner.
Meanwhile, sounds like Taylor can carry on for Bucket for us.
Certainly indeed. In fact, this is actually the first season of Austin Bucket, so he's technically a rookie in the club class that you see here tonight. A great drive for him so far, but he is very used to driving Porsches at racing circuits, because what he does for PCA is he goes to track days as well as driving instructors, as well as he himself is a driving instructor as well. So he knows a thing or two about whipping Porsches around major motorsport circuits across the U.S.
The 13 of Austin down across the pit straight and starts lap 3, early days here at Silverstone. A string of Porsches into Copse once again. And now we're going to check in the mid-pack here. This is 26 as James Hayosh. Oh, and he just flew by Terrence Tong, who's in pit lane. Not sure what that was for. We did have at least one black flag for Jose Santiago in the meantime.
Yeah, we did indeed. As Hayosh there, you can see that Hornet's nest of Porsches up ahead of him, diving into Maggotts and Beckett's. Everybody getting down into single file there. A couple of varying lines. There's Jake Steinbrink almost getting into the back, and then definitely getting into the back of that machine ahead of him.
That's Zabo, I think, that had the contact in the 31. That checked them up, and Hayosh took advantage. He goes ahead of Simon, but now Eon has the slipstream. We head back to Glenn Dennis here, up at the front of the field on a big chase, trying to catch our leader. It's down 0.3 of a second.
Yeah, done a very good job here to keep in that gap to Nicky Chan, like we talked about. Once he got rid a little bit of that second place machine, now just trying to focus up the road. It's a long race here, still 40 minutes to go, so I don't think Dennis necessarily needs to make a hard push here. Just try to keep as much pressure to Chan as possible and maybe force a mistake out of the Canadian.
Yeah, so Dennis, who is originally from California, finds himself seeing if he could overtake the driver out of Canada. And Nicky Chan is not budging. Behind them, it's also closing in as Ed Nelson has that one down to 0.6.
Yeah, these top three closing in a little bit on each other here, and the rest of the field losing a little bit of touch from them. Ooh, a little bit of a look there in the back from Kayan Gerlap, holding a defensive line there, not making off of what he is thinking of doing, so that's a good job there for him. This is running on board with Cliff Kayer. As we've said before, not going to have a chance to really make an overtake here through the Maggotts and Beckett sequence, but maybe just apply enough pressure to Gerlap in front of him to see if there can be something doing.
And Taylor, I see you've got something on our second place driver right now in the midst of his battle.
Yeah, Glenn Dennis was actually originally a challenge class driver. He finished sixth in Series 6, second position in Series 6 last season, and he collected the most wins as well as the most laps led for that championship. So he was moved up into the club class for his performances in this championship from last season, and he has really showcased his talent. Of course, from the Potomac region, Glenn Dennis has been involved with sim racing not that very long, just about less than a year. Started back in 2020, late 2020, early 2021, and was able to put on a great performance. And the reason why that he drives that number 20, well, it's because his son is a karting driver, and his son uses that same number. So he's really looking forward to showcasing what he can do and see if he can show his son a thing or two in the sim world.
Literally runs in the family. As we now head back to Travis Brody once again, giving us his views here in the 7th spot. Stuck in the middle of his own train. At the front of it is Geralt in 5th position. Then it is Kayer, Brody back there 3rd in line, Diolosa and Korzanowski all vying for that 5th position. Across the front stretch, and I have to say, Kayer's getting very close to the rear bumper of that 34.
Yes, he certainly is going to try to maybe force a little bit of an offline maneuver there, just getting into the head the best he can of Gerlap, trying to see what they can do. Getting through Maggotts and Beckett's. Now, this is the most important part of it. Getting through Beckett's perfectly and then getting on the throttle coming out of Chapel. Very, very important to get it, and it looks like Kayer wasn't exactly able to get the launch that he wanted to, so not going to be able to have an assault down here into Stowe, but at least keeping the pressure up. Looking out the back here, though, of the P2 machine of Glenn Dennis.
He's dropped off with Nicky. Ed Nelson continuing to apply the pressure at about 0.4 of a second into Vale Corner. And then out of club they go. It's a little bit more of a gradual turn here in this older version. And now we watch from Austin Bucket as he can see them just up the way, but he's dropped back to about 2 seconds, so certainly not in it currently.
No, not in it currently, and sort of just driving in a world unto himself is Austin Bucket. As you said, he's got that big gap up in front and about a second and a half behind him as well. So just able to ostensibly run some hot laps here, which can be a little bit calming. Just kind of get yourself into a good rhythm, and then if anything happens to the drivers in front of you, you'll be able to pounce.
Ooh, and back to Chris Duffy here in 27th. This is Patrick Gilles just in front of him, and he gets a great exit coming off the Abbey chicane. Does he dare into Priory? He tries for the over-unders. We got two cars off course next to them. He does try and go around the outside, but nothing doing. That looks like Ian Simon and Jake Steinbrink. What happened here?
We're going to jump back to check out a replay here. Looks like a little bit of side-by-side action coming out of Abbey as they come under bridge, almost flying in a flying V there. Oh, I think that's Steinbrink that just cut over a little bit early.
And that was Patterson in front of him in the 29. Michael Patterson, they came oh so close to making contact, but just mere inches allowed him to keep running in the 23rd spot. As we come back to Ed Nelson yet again. And this is changing shape. It was a fight for the lead. Now it's becoming very much a fight for second because Dennis just can't seem to hang.
No, and I wonder if that's a little bit of the pressure that Nelson is starting to apply, and that Glenn Dennis is just having to drive in his rear-view mirrors a little bit more than he'd prefer. Riding on board with Nelson right now, not really able to get the run that I think he would like there coming out of club, but now the heavy braking zone into Abbey. Watch for wheel spin here on the exit of the chicane. Looks like Dennis is able to hold it, but I don't know for how long the way that Ed Nelson is able to attack.
Rachel, with how close Ed has been getting, at what stage does he actually start to defend as we look back at Roadheaver, who's up to 26th?
Honestly, that sort of stage, defending is really not something you're looking at right now. You can give a position. It's not going to be a big deal. Sure, you don't want to, but in the grand scheme of things, it may be easier than holding up traffic and letting more people get up to the back of you by fighting someone that could be quicker. So it's a balancing act.
So after falling probably to roughly 39th or so, Roadheaver up about 10 positions and some change, getting by a few more cars. Patrick Gilles, Chris Duffy not fighting him there. They know he's got much better pace. Looks like we've had some black flags here. Taylor, I'm seeing some drivers heading your way.
Yeah, Jared Roadheaver was black flag for an incident that happened to him, so he will be coming down to serve that penalty. And I believe Race Control will be looking over a couple of other things regarding that start that happened coming to the green flag of today's race here for the club class. So we'll get more information once we find out more.
Up into Stowe one more time. That's Geralt there in the 34 as well. Very wide for Kayer. The 008 just struggling to keep it from going off the course. Oh, and down to the inside. Here comes Brody. Absolutely sends it. Doesn't make it through. Tries to cut back. We watch from the onboard to see if he can potentially come back through. Nothing doing for now, but he's awful close. He gets another shot here at Abbey.
He's certainly thinking about going for it there, Joe, but backs off a little bit. And I've got to give massive credit to Cliff Kayer just parking that 008 on the apex of club and preventing that assault from Brody. That was some very, very heads-up defensive driving from that yellow and black machine.
He's got Ricky Bobby on his shirt, and that was ambitious like Ricky Bobby there, but it didn't quite pay off. Behind him, the 90 is starting to size him up as well. So I wonder if we'll see Matt Dialosa have a go at that number 020 any moment.
Very well might. We'll have to see. As we've talked about many times, getting into those battles, and like you were talking about there, Rachel, getting into those battles can just slow you down and open up an opportunity for you to get passed by more cars from behind. So Dialosa certainly knows that and trying to see if he can maybe get a little bit forward here on Travis Brody.
Yeah, I think he's in a good position right now. Matt Dialosa's been running pretty well in that 90. He just needs to focus right now on where he ends up on the track, and sometimes it's not going to be towards the front, but you can save a backwards trend by not just bottling things up. And when you bottle things up, it ends up with more and more people catching up to that, and you lose ground on the guys in front, whereas you may find if you let someone pass that's showing they're definitely faster, you could ride their toe or follow their line, and you could both go much faster and catch the guys in front. So it can always be a good thing. It can just often feel very disadvantageous.
So once again, keep our eyes up here between Dennis and Nelson. Credit to Glenn, he's not dropped off of Nicky since the initial fall back to 8th. I'm wondering if this is intentional, maybe just trying not to ride too closely behind that 981.
It could be, but I'm not entirely sure what the overall effect would be of doing so. It's not like you're encountering a massive amount of aero wash here. I mean, you do have some of those medium to high speed flowing corners, but these are GT3s. We're not dealing with a GTE type car where there is a massive amount of aero wash that could completely throw you off, or even an open wheeler. So you're going to be able to follow relatively close behind and not suffer too much of a disadvantage. We'll have to see how that plays out, but we're going to follow back here to P16. This is John Martin on the attack. That's his Bruce Robinson right in front of him.
Yeah, less than 0.2 of a second between the pair of them. Ooh, he's awful close. Sometimes you'll see brave passes into cops. Don't think he'll be close enough for that unless he's really gutsy, and no. Answer is he is not. He'll stay behind, loses a little bit of time, and the car bobbles on its way out.
I was about to give him a big credit there as he forced a little bit of an early entry from Robinson in front of him. But we're jumping back here to Jalen Wen. This is the battle for P27. Aaron Ambrosino in 29th. And the meat in the middle of that sandwich is Randall Ayers.
Indeed. Coming once again up into Cop's corner. Oh, and somebody's off the track in front of them, almost pulls in front of them. That was Chris Duffy. Not sure how he got out there, but he got just enough room to be able to straighten himself out. He'll return in 31st position. Back to Brody once again. Still stuck in the midst of the top 10. As ahead of him, he can see Cliff Kayer starting to get close to the rear bumper to Geralt in the 34.
Yeah, and he's fallen off the back of Kayer a little bit, but the good news for him is that Matt Dialoso behind him has also fallen off the back of Brody. So, not necessarily in a high-stakes area right now. He's able to do a little bit of attack. Look at that closing speed, though. Obviously, under braking, you're going to get a little bit of that concertina effect, but I think Kayer is getting held up a little bit by Geralt.
Getting very, very close to him. It's looking like passing is just quite difficult today. We've seen a few out there, but a number of drivers, Rachel, have been pretty stuck. Certainly not this guy. Klaus Nielsen is our biggest mover.
Yeah, Klaus Nielsen's really putting on some work today, and we'll have to see how that can go for him towards the end of this, but he's definitely shown a lot of really good potential with this race, and Nielsen has been a bit of a campaigner here for these guys, so really good to see him actually moving with this one, as he overall has had a pretty good season last season, so excited to see what he can do with this one.
Back to Ed Nelson yet again. Can't keep our eyes off of this fight here at the front. Nelson, one of the Summer Series champs, has got some great credentials underneath him. He'd like to prove himself yet again. Get one more step up, two more steps up to take the victory here today. Before he can think about that, he's got to dispose of Glenn Dennison. Just hasn't been able to find a way through. Hasn't been able to find a weakness out of that number 20. Stephen Kemp and this bright yellow number 37 fighting for 11th position. That's Brett Holmes just in front of him.
Yeah, we're sort of seeing this train develop all across the field as we look out the back of Ryan Korzanowski right now. There you can see behind him Holmes trying to close in, but Korzanowski doing a good job to keep that at bay. I think a lot of these drivers are really, really driving in their rear view mirrors. They don't want to give up a lot of position, and as a result, they're not really going on a massive attack here. It's much more of a wait-and-see approach, but proving me wrong, here comes Sabo.
He's got a little bit of a look, but it's around the outside as they break into the Abbey chicane, and he's going to get denied unless he can do a great cutback here.
Doesn't look like he is, but Cliff Kayer is one that is. He got the move down the pit straightaway going into Cops. Great move there by Cliff.
Wow, I said it takes a brave one, and Cliff has got the stones today. Just got his nose inside. We're going to watch the replay of this overtake, saw the bad exit, manages to get side by side, and thankfully, no repeats of real-world Silverstone here.
Indeed. I think that was a pretty good heads-up play by Oregon. He recognized that that position was there. The only problem was that compromised Oregon's run a little bit going into Maggots and Beckett's. And guess who? Travis Brody now all up behind the rear wing of the 34.
Once again, going to watch Travis Brody, who's thinking about it. Just thinking about it, though. Can't do anything quite yet. Matt Dialosa also in this train. Great exit out of club for Travis. The 34 does not defend, sticks on the racing line, leaves the door open. Now he starts to turn in a little early, and Travis finds the door shut.
Yeah, Travis there, it looked like it took him a half a second to get back onto the racing line, and I think that compromises entry a little bit into Abbey. Lost about a half a tenth to a tenth going through that section. And you can see there, Dialosa definitely noticed that happened. He's starting to close in as well. Let's see how they handle here coming through Brooklands and Luffield. I think Oregon Gerlach's going to have in his head the mistake he made last time and is not going to want to repeat it.
Certainly not. Does look pretty decent, but he continues to drop away from the 008 in front. So we watch from the roof cam briefly. Past the pit straight once again. Going to be seeing pit stops relatively soon, as we're already down to 25 minutes left to go. Back with Ed Nelson, and he's got it to within 0.3 of a second. We've seen this story before, but it has not produced a pass yet.
No, it hasn't, and I wonder here for Nelson if he is just in a little bit of a wait-and-see mode. There could be a little fuel saving involved with that 16 machine as well, but looking very, very close here, coming through Stowe. If this was any other battle that I'd seen, I'd say it's time to attack, but Nelson doesn't exactly look like he wants to do it at this point.
Hasn't been showing us signs of that, at least. It's been hopefully a pressure cooker and not just a damp squib out there that we will get to see the 16 try and attack at some stage, maybe late in the race. Down in 10th, Korzanowski sees Holmes Korzanowski nearly makes a touch with the quad there. The Canadian in the 64 has got himself a heap of pressure on him.
Yeah, he really, really does, and he is doing his best to try to hold it out here as well as he can as they make their way out of the corners now. Coming under bridge. Doesn't look like it's going to be close enough to make the attack here, but certainly that red and white Porsche behind is going to be there, focusing back on Travis Brody, this battle that we have been constantly focused on.
And interestingly, none of the cars really seem to be able to get away with it, except for maybe Cliff Cayer. He's starting to gap them up to 1.4 seconds. So if he keeps that trend up, he will be able to finally breathe a sigh of relief and focus on his own race without worrying about looking in the mirrors. Behind them in 16th, John Martin, looking to see what he can do on Robinson. Martin having started this one from 18th. He's up 2 spots, but we are down to 23 minutes left to go. So it is time to bring you the Midway Race Report, brought to you by Michelin. Michelin is the presenting partner for the club class in 2021, as well as the official tire of IMSA. They also manufacture and sell tires for every type of vehicle, including airplanes, automobiles, bicycles, earth movers, farm equipment, heavy-duty trucks, and motorcycles. Michelin also offers a range of innovative services and solutions that help make mobility safer, more efficient, and more environmentally friendly. Find more about Michelin at michelinman.com. Rachel?
Thank you very much. And well, we start off with the 981 of Nicky Chan. The driver from the Upper Canada region has led from the green flag this race, and the Toronto native is definitely putting in a show for us today. Up in second place, we have Glenn Dennis, recent promotion, of course. 20 car from the Potomac region of zone number 2 is up from third place today, chasing down our Canadian leader. Third place is Ed Nelson, the Pacific Northwest region driver from zone number 6 in that 16 car, currently up 1 from fourth. Fourth place, Austin Bucket, up 2 places from 6th place now, riding Along there, the 13 car, the Alpine region driver of zone number 9. Behind them, it's Cliff Kea, up 2 places from 7th. The 008 driver from the Carolinas region of zone number 3 is putting on a great show in a very, very fancy paint scheme. Behind them is Oregon Gilles, coming back 1 place from where they started in 5th. Rally Sport region driver of zone number 4, also knocking it out of the park with a gorgeous livery on that Porsche, putting in a good lap this time by and chasing down the cars ahead. Right behind him, we're seeing the onboard cam from Travis, and you see it right there. That is Travis Brody in the 020, the Palmetto region driver of zone number 3, is working his way forward. Has been in some hot action today. Behind them, we have Matt Dialosa, the Rocky Mountain region driver of zone number 9 in that 90 machine, is currently up 1 from 9th. Behind them is Robert Lacroix, the Grand Sport region driver of zone number 1, is putting some work in there, up 3 places from 12th. That is psychedelic. Wow. Ryan Korzanowski, the Rocky Mountain region driver of zone number 9 in the 42 car. Ryan is currently exactly where he started, in 10th. Taylor?
Sitting in the 11th position will be Brett Holmes from the Las Vegas region in that beautiful white, blue, and grayish Porsche. Started in the 13th spot, has gained 2 spots since the start of today's race. Moving on back to P12 is Jeremy Mazriello from the North Country region in car number 25. He's picked up about 5 spots after starting in 17th position. 13th position goes to car 386 from the North Ohio region. Bruce Robinson, a strong, longtime competitor in the PCA from Zone 4, having a strong run after starting 20th. P14, he stayed there since the drop of the green flag. Car number 8 from the Peach State region, Gary Rice, has had started there and has maintained a strong running in the 14th position. 15th position goes to J.R. Gregory from the Oregon region, gaining 4 spots after starting 19th in that Falcon Tire liveried paint scheme, having a strong run after starting inside the top 20. John Martin from the Upper Canada region in car number 23 in that beautiful green, white, and yellow Porsche from the Upper Canada region. Started 18th, has gained 2 spots, currently in 16th. 17th position goes to Robert Cottle from the Intermountain region. Strong running for him right now after starting in 22nd. 18th position goes to James Hayosh from the Southeast Michigan region in that chrome black and silver Porsche. Of course, James started in 11th, has fallen back to 18th, hopefully can recover later on in the run. 19th is Klaus Nielsen, our biggest mover of the night so far from the Lone Star region after starting 33rd. Strong performance here at the season opener for that beautiful purple and white and black 04 Porsche. Rounding out your top 20, he started 2nd. He's trying to find his way back on the road to recovery. You're on board with him is Jared Rodeheaver from the Release-N-Toda region, zone number 2 in that pink, black, and white Porsche. Let's see if he can recover late in the going. Rachel?
21st tonight, Pacific Northwest region zone. Randall Ayers from zone number 6 in that 83 machine. Randall has actually been going pretty quick right now, up from 26th. 22nd, Aaron Ambrosino then. Another really stunning livery tonight. The Hudson Champlain region driver of zone 1 in that 08 has dropped back actually from 21st, so 1 spot down from where he started. Terrence Tong, new last season, of course, big upstart, in fact, in the lower series. Definitely trying to find his feet here. The 338 car, the Upper Canada region driver of zone number 1, is down from up 1 from 24th. Albie Blanco, the Carolinas region driver of zone number 3, is in 24th in the 911 in another gorgeous car. That is beautiful, I've got to say. Look at the gold there. Absolutely stunning. And, wow, he got the 911, a most sought-after number in the series. In 25th, we have Michael Evans in the 980, the Shenandoah region driver of zone number 2, is up from 30th, so 5 spots gained. Stephen Kemp is in 26th. Stephen, of course, the Nordstern region driver of zone number 10 in that 37 is... Actually can't find where he came from here, but we'll find out later. 24th, we seem to be doing up and down once again here. So Michael Patterson, the Longhorn region driver, is in number 5 as we start to see some cars pitting here. The 29 car is really, big drift there coming through the S-turns, really putting that car under some serious stress. Going to Gilles next for 25th. Patrick Gilles, Central Wisconsin region of Zone 13 in the 111 there. Patrick Gilles is trying to find himself a run at the moment. Started 34th, so he's up 7 spots. Chris Sabo in 30th there, the Hudson Valley region of Zone number 1. Trying to find himself some track position at the moment. And another big drift through that corner. And my God, these guys have knocked it out of the park when it comes to liveries for this season. Randall Ayers in the 83 Pacific Northwest region there. As we are up to Randall Ayers, sorry, I'm having a brain moment as I can't find where he's from, but he is the Pacific Northwest region, Zone 6. And we already covered Terrence Tong. Taylor.
31st is going to be Lyle Eddy from the Pacific Northwest region. We talked about him earlier on after having some trouble on the opening laps, but he has made a strong recovery in that 35th position after starting inside the top 25. 32nd goes to Ian Simon from the Whiskey Bay in that Q Cup car. Beautiful paint scheme and a big team organization in the PCA competition. Looking forward to seeing what they can do here this season. 33rd position in the 924 is Chris Duffy from the Florida Citrus region. We have the Rubber Duffy machine as is currently out on the track in that blue Porsche as it continues on his way. Started 30th, has a little bit to go here in the late going. Jake Steinbrink from the Ohio Valley region had a penalty to serve earlier, but in the Coast Guard paint scheme, will look to try to see if he can find a way to recover later in the race. Peter Sigourney from the Northeast region will try to fight his way up to the field in the Flying Lizard colors. One of the most well-known Porsche cars in recent times to see out on the track. It's great to see them back at it once again in GT3 competition as well. 36 is Jillian Wen from the Upper Canada region. We pointed out on Wednesday night that this is the biggest group of drivers to compete from this region. 29 competitors from the Upper Canada region, so a strong performance from the Canadians here tonight at Silverstone. 37th goes to Kevin Douglas, who is right behind him from the Recent Total region in that beautiful yellow and black Porsche, having a strong run, trying to see if he can get his way back up to the field after being now put 1 lap down. Jensen Benet in the Pfaff Motorsports colors, trying to see if he can work his way up to the field. Had a tough break late in the going after starting 16th. He runs 38th. 39th goes to James Sue from the Upper Canada region in that beautiful white, black, and chrome Porsche as he comes out of the final corner down the front straightaway. We'll see what he can accomplish here. He still sits 1 lap down. In the red, white, and blue machine, Mike Knighton sits 40th, 2 laps down. Let's see if he can work his way up through the field here in the closing stages. 41st goes to Daniel Rubel, and then 42nd is Jose Santiago. There's Daniel Rubel in the Rainbow Unicorn machine. One of the most vibrant paint schemes, I would have to say, here tonight.
Definitely among my favorites here. And again, thank you for that, Rachel and Taylor. This concludes tonight's Midway Race Report, brought to you by Michelin. Now, we had pit stops as that happened, and that changed things drastically. Nicky Chan, still your leader. He was actually running away before the pit stops, but it was Glenn Dennis who had a long stop, monstrously long stop, and is now well down the order, unfortunately. So there goes that second place, and Nelson inherits the P2.
Does indeed. We ride on the top of Glenn Dennis's machine now, all the way back down in 22nd, trying to get his way past Michael Patterson right now. Certainly a lot more speed in that number 20 machine, as you would expect, but he has got to do a little bit of a recovery drive here.
Well, Nelson, if I could speak today, Nelson certainly appreciates it as we go back to P11 with Robinson. And Jeremy there in the 25 just ahead, but he's got his eyes forward because Brett Holmes is nary but 0.2 of a second in front of him. And now that stops are done, he's going to have to make the pass on track.
He is indeed. It looked like there that Brett ran a little bit wide on the exit of Luffield and through Woodcote. Very aggressive line there for Jeremy Mazzariello, trying to make it maybe in 2 maggots. Is that going to work for him? No, he's going to have to check up. But again, this comes back to what we've talked about. Just keep up in those tire tracks. Try to get a good run out of Chapel and make a move down the hanger straight.
Can he get this shot? The orange and black number 25 is going to go for it. He gets a decent run, and Holmes doesn't defend at first. He's going to stay on the racing line. Jeremy sizing him up, pokes his nose down in, but can't get the overlap. Still given space at the apex, and Holmes will be able to retain 9th.
Be able to retain it for the moment, but it still looks like that Jeremy trying to make a move going down into Vale, has to check himself up. Bruce Robinson licking his lips at the opportunities in front of him. Gets a bad exit there off of Club, and I think that's going to hurt him indeed. He's going to fall back a little bit here.
And it sounds like Taylor's spotted someone who is maybe a little too ambitious down on pit lane. What's going on, Taylor?
Well, I was looking through the field right now, and we wanted to see who maybe made the biggest gains with their pit stop cycles. Some of the drivers who I've noticed were pointing out Allison Bucket with a 12-second pit stop. But Travis Brody is a little concerning. A 9-second flat pit stop, the fastest pit stop out of the entire field of drivers. My concern is, does he now have enough fuel to make it to the end? We've seen Wednesday night, some drivers couldn't make it all the way to the end. They had to make an extra pit stop in the final laps. So we'll have to take a look here as he's taking a drink right quick, trying to get himself refocused and ready to go. But this is going to be an interesting scenario for Travis Brody.
See, I think he needs one of those beer hats where, it's got like the can on either side. He could just wear that on top of his headphones and always have the sippy in his mouth. So Travis Brody trying to get those 2 seconds down a little closer to Cliff Care and see if he could go higher into the top 5. We switch over to Austin Bucket, promoted into 3rd after the problems for Dennis. Could he lose that to Care, who's got this within about half a second?
I was just keeping an eye on this. Cliff Care looking like he's on a very, very good drive here. He was about a full second faster than Bucket last lap. Definitely all up on the back of that rear wing of Bucket, trying to make it through here. Bucket looking like he's doing a pretty good job there out of Club as they head down toward, that was Stowe, as they head down towards Vale and Club right now. Starting to stretch away a little bit, but we want to jump back to that battle for P10. Brett Holmes looking very, very spicy yet again.
Yeah, it's Mazzarella just ahead of him, and the 25 has managed to get by. Brett Holmes now on the attack instead of the defense. Bruce Robinson behind them that you see. Gary Reese in the 8 car, also riding in 12th position. So everybody vying for a top 10 here to boost their stats after our first round of Series 7. Oh, and look at this between Care.
Yeah, I was just about to say this. Care got a really good run again out of Luffield. He's going to have to see if he's able to get close. He's going to back off the rear wing of Austin Bucket there. Some cars a little slow. That's Randall Ayers right in front of them coming out of the pits. Is that going to cause a little bit of a kerfluffle there? No. Everybody through nice and clearly, but Care right behind the back of Bucket, having to fall back a little bit through maggots, but as they go into Beckett's, it's Care very, very aggressive on the move. Here it could come. He's just got to nail Chapel.
Great heads up by Ayers in that situation. And in the meantime, let's stay here, but I can report that Bruce Robinson had a spin out of Copse. The 386 will get it going. I think he sustained some serious damage. We'll look into that later. Watching now on board with the 08, looking up ahead, been tantalizingly close, and yet the 08 is not in the top 3 quite yet. He wants to spray that champagne.
He very much does. A little bit tighter, more of an aggressive line there through Club. I'm not sure if that's going to fully help him there. Here he's going to try to look to the inside a little bit, just get a little bit into the head of Austin Bucket, but nothing doing going down into Abbey.
Let's stick with this, but Taylor, I believe you have our now fan favorite, the trivia question of the night. Oop, did we lose Taylor here for a second? I think we might have...
Let's try that again.
Do you have... Oh, no, we have a Taylor.
We do have a Taylor. He's back at it again with another great trivia question. But the question is, since we are here at Silverstone, one of the things we need to ask is the first British driver in a Porsche to win at Silverstone during the endurance races that are normally held here for the 6-hour time periods. And if we can find that one, we've already been on a roll. We've got 2 answers right so far for the last 2 questions. Let's see if we can go 3 in a row here tonight.
Road heaver, you can see his chest almost heaving. He is working hard and having to certainly do a lot to hold off the competition behind him, who's going to take a look into Luffield, but can't get through. This is Dennis on his charge back up through the fields. So both drivers want spots. Are they going to trip each other up even more as he goes way over to the side?
I think that was Road Heaver there, just giving Glenn Dennis a little bit of room. Both of those drivers, as you said, out of position there. Just hearing a little bit of back and forth on the comms right now. I think, yeah, that was Jared letting Glenn by. Glenn now up into 19th place. Remember, he was running in that podium position before that disastrously long stop.
Well, I think there's going to be some calories burned for Jared after tonight. He's having to work hard for it. Sure, the disappointment won't help his appetite all that much either. As we go back to Austin Bucket once again and still doing everything. Oh, no, excuse me, Kayer got by.
Yes, he did, Joe. That completely slipped by on me, but Kayer moving his way up into the podium positions.
So apologies for missing that move, but well done to the 008. Bucket's not giving up on it. And it looks like Kayer's still on his list, as behind them, Brody's got it down to less than 2 seconds, so they got to watch out.
Yeah, indeed, he will. I don't think that Austin Bucket is going to let this go too quietly here. Kayer, in meantime, has a long way up to go, about 3.5 seconds to try to get up to Ed Nelson in front of him. So that may be a little bit too hard to get to, but Kayer at least be able to be on the third step of the podium here.
Yet more drivers coming out of pit lane after, I think, penalties that they're serving. That was Chris Duffy that you saw trying to stay out of their way. This is Dialosa that we are watching from back in 7th. The, I'm going to guess, Colorado driver here hails from Club West, as he's got the Colorado flag plastered all over that Porsche. They're going to go past Peter Sigourney, another one of our back markers who's trying to be polite, almost offered an opportunity for the 90.
Tried to offer that opportunity and doing a good thing to get out of the way there, but still just offering a little bit of a roadblock. We ride on board with Lacroix right now, trying to close in there a little bit on Dialosa. Not quite able to do it. That's Gerloff still up the road. This is getting to be a little bit spicy, but we're going to check back in on somebody we haven't talked about in a while, Joe. Our leader, Mickey Chan.
Only has to survive for 3 more minutes here. Just went by a hindered Ken Eskridge, who was off circuit. Not sure what caused that, but the Mid-South driver's back rolling once again. The 981 has a gap of about 8 seconds over Ed Nelson, who has inherited that 2nd place. So he has just got to cruise himself. And then 3rd place is the first one up for grabs. We've been watching this for some time now here at the end. And hopefully we get an answer here soon. Like I said, only 3 minutes left. Taylor, has anybody been able to get it?
So far, nobody has been able to get it. We're waiting to see if a couple of drivers have. They've come close. We've seen a couple of great British drivers in Porsches to do it, such as Derek Bell and Nick Tandy, but we're going a little further back in time than in the 2000s and 90s and 80s. We're looking a little further back. So think of the 70s for those. I'll give that one hint, and we'll keep this question going until we get the correct answer.
All right, so our audience, you got to hustle now and get this in before the race is over, or else we're going to be going into overtime, having to answer it in the 2nd race. This is a 4-way battle down for the lower spots of 27th, 28th, 29th, and 30th, but it's still all the meaningful for these drivers. Mitch Evans at the front of the pack in the 980 in that sort of traditional green, white, and black.
Yeah, it is. And there you see Aaron Ambrosino trying to get a little bit of a move. Ian Simon there, I saw him very, very aggressive going down into Priory, taking a super wide entry into the corner. They stretch out a little bit here as they come across the start-finish line. Not sure anybody's going to be able to get a move done into Cops. Just a little bit too much room in between those drivers.
Mercifully for them, it doesn't look like Nicky Chan is close enough that he'll lap them before this is over. Maybe 20 more minutes he would have been able to go by, so they don't have to be looking in their mirrors. Instead, Lacroix is definitely looking forward as he takes a poke into Priory. Can't quite solidify the spot that way, so into Brooklands he once again takes to the racing line.
Yeah, taking the racing line there, a little bit too much overspeed, trying to diamond off the corner a little bit, but now able to get the power down, but that little bit of an error through Brooklands, I think, will cost him.
The confetti fans, the confetti cannons fly as we've got a right answer. Taylor, what was it?
It was John Fitzpatrick. So, of course, the first British driver in a Porsche to win at the 6 hours at Silverstone is going to go to the winner of RT Click, who made the comment quickly. Of course, for those of you who know about John Fitzpatrick, was a well-known driver in all things Porsche, especially with the famous Dick Barber racing Porsche that in the 80s picked up wins at the 24 Hours of Daytona, as well as the 12 Hours of Sebring in the 80s during the IMSA Camel GT era.
Trying to check, are we on the last lap here with Nicky Chan? Because there's 30 seconds to go. I believe we are. Yeah, I don't think he can get through that whole infield section at the end of the lap in time. With a 10-second gap back to the 16, our pole sitter is going to solidify a win in the opening round in Series 7. One over in Canada, and now it's here in England as the Canadian driver will be able to celebrate for a second time. And the 981 is our winner here today at Silverstone for round one in the Club Series.
A great drive for Nicky there, sustaining some early pressure and keeping it on. Behind them, it's going to be Ed Nelson looking like he'll be able to cross the line in second. Austin Bucket losing out to Cliff Kayer there in those closing stages of the race. Kayer going to be able to spray that champagne. We jump back here to a little battle for P9.
Gary in the 8 just isn't close enough, so the 25 will be able to take 9th. Gary settles for a top 10 at best. Looks like Korzanowski as well going to be able to beat J.R. Gregory for 12th place.
Yes, it is. Looking back here to Jared Rodeheaver, remember a little bit of a recovery drive from Jared. Probably want to be happy that this race is done. He'll be able to take a nice little breather here coming through Luffield for the final time. Not close enough to be able to get up to those cars in front of him in the tune of Michael Patterson or Klaus Nielsen. Jared will be coming across the line here in 21st place.
I said that we had a lot of fast drivers here today, and here P27 is still vying for spots on the lead lap. Ambrosino behind Eddie. Lyle looks like, as there is a bit of a look from Ian.
Yeah, Ian's been very aggressive through that final sector. Let's see if there's anything that they're able to be had here. Diving off of the line. Looks like they're all going to stay 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's going to be Sabo, Eddie, Ambrosino, and Simon just coming across there to finish their race.
Albi Blanco will be our last one on the lead lap, which takes us to our results here for the club race this evening. Nicky Chan finished in the lead, taking the win as Ed Nelson was P2 and Cliff Kayer jumped up from 7th to 3rd. Austin Bucket with a P4 was ahead of Travis Brody, getting a top 5. Dialosa in 6th was followed by Gralp in 7th. 2 spots down, unfortunately. Lacroix in 8th was followed by Mazzarello in 9th and Gary Reese in 10th.
Brett Holmes was able to come home in 11th, followed by Ryan Korzanowski in 12th. J.R. Gregory was 13th, followed by Robert Cottle and James Hayosh in 15th. 16th was John Martin. Behind him, Glenn Dennis after that disastrous pit stop, followed by Bruce Robinson and Klaus Nielsen, with Michael Patterson rounding out your top 20.
Road Heaver could only get up to 21st today, as Kemp was 22nd and Patrick Gilles in 23rd. Terrence Tong was P24, exactly where he started, amazingly. Chris Szabo in 25th was followed by Lyle Edey. You've got Aaron Ambrosino in 27th, Ian Simon in 28th, up from 41st, but he did not qualify, or set a qualifying time, rather, as Michael Evans finished 29th and Jake Steinbrink 30th.
Albie Blanco was in 31st, followed by Ken Eskridge, the first driver a lap down. Chris Duffy, 33rd. Kevin Douglas in 34th, with Randall Ayers and Jensen Bennett there in 36th. Jalen Wang was 37th, followed by Peter Sigourney and James Sue in 39th, rounding out the drivers, finishing one lap down. Mike Neiden was 3 laps down.
And then from there, you've just got drivers who unfortunately had bad days, Rubel, Santiago, and Scott. But we do have a man who's had a very good day. Nikki Chan joins us here in the booth. And Nikki, I know you say that you tend to have ice cream after DNFs. How do you celebrate after?
I haven't planned yet because I wasn't sure how this was going to turn out, but I think we're out of ice cream as well, so I don't know. We'll have to figure this one out.
I'm sure the win at Motorsport meant a lot, being a home circuit over there, but coming in to start off the season with a win, does that fill you with a great sense of pride? Do you feel hopeful about the season now?
Yes and no. I mean, Silverstone is a circuit that I'm kind of somewhat familiar with, so a little bit of practice kind of brought me up to pace, but through the season, there are a number of tracks that are entirely new to me, so I'll just have to see how well I pick those up.
Even still, from pole to victory, this was an impressive one. Is there anybody that helped make this happen for you?
Yeah, certainly. So the one other time I won a race, my wife commented that I didn't give her the thanks. So I would like to give my thanks to our sponsors, Hagerty and Michelin, but of course, my beautiful wife for supporting me and marrying me and helping me out with just everything in my life.
Great stuff. I love that. Making sure to get it in this time. That was... Nikki Chan, our first place finisher. I believe DJ's caught up with P2, Ed Nelson.
I have indeed, Ed. It was a pretty chaotic battle there, working your way forward, but you had to be breathing a little bit of a sigh of relief after coming out of the pit stops.
Yeah, I was undercut Glenn there in the pit lane and somehow came out with a really big lead over third after everything cycled through.
Well, talk about your sort of mentality in the early phases of the race. We were kind of speculating if you were trying to maybe save some fuel or just be a little bit more relaxed. Were you looking for an opportunity, or were you pretty content there riding around in third?
I was content. My spotter was telling me just to stay patient, and we were actually going to pit one lap sooner than Glenn, but he came in the same time. So we were hoping to, do an undercut, but riding behind him, I mean, great driver, and there was no reason to try to take a position that early in the race and chance anything.
Well, it's a mentality that clearly worked out for you, Ed. Anybody you'd like to thank for this second place here tonight?
Yeah, I'd like to thank Joe Stiffel, Dewey King, Jacob Schum, all the guys that I practice with and helped me get ready for these races.
Well, thank you very much, Ed. That was your second place finisher here tonight, Ed Nelson. And now, Joe, I believe you've caught up with our third place driver, Cliff Kayer.
Indeed. Cliff had it coming from all sides, unfortunately, in the race, on the attack and the defense. How did you keep track of all that?
I felt like I had one eye looking straight and one eye in a mirror, I'll be honest. It was fantastic, though. It was a great race. Everybody was clean. Had some really fun with Oregon and Austin. It was just fantastic.
It looked like it was pretty tough to pass out there today, especially here in the club class. Did it feel like that from your perspective?
Yeah, the car has no draft associated with it, so you have to really make your runs out of corners and make sure you get in right to the apex. So it was a blast, though. I mean, the car really teaches you how to get in and out of corners fast. So it's a fun car to run.
It looked like fun. Well, you also made that incredible pass into Cops, which definitely got us up onto our feet. Again, congratulations on a podium. Anybody you want to thank?
No, just thanks for everybody at PCA Sim Racing putting this on, and it's just such a blast. Thank you very much.
That was Cliff Kerr, who finished in P3 out here for the club class. And this race presented by Michelin is closing up, but we have one more coming up. Of course, that is the pros. Stick around as we head off for the final race of the week here at Silverstone. Stick around.
Hagerty is the world's largest provider of specialty insurance for enthusiast vehicles and supports keeping car culture alive through youth programs, the Historic Vehicle Association, the RPM Foundation, and more. Hagerty is home to key programs such as the Hagerty Drivers Club, Hagerty Drive Share, Hagerty Valuation Tools, the Hagerty Drivers Club magazine, and much, much more. For more information, visit their website at hagerty.com. PCA Sim Racing is proud to have Hagerty Motorsports as its 2021 title sponsor.